It can feel like a tangled mess of never-ending pressure. Anxiety builds as life twists and turns, and we struggle through one problem to the next. But there is an answer. There is an answer. Discover how to find rest and relief in Joyce's book, The Answer to Anxiety. God longs to give you His peace. Learn how to receive this gift. Joyce Meyer's The Answer to Anxiety, available wherever books are sold.
This program has been made possible by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.
I want to encourage you to stop doubting yourself. Because God doesn't do great things for you because you're great. He does them because He's great. Now, the word doubt, defined in the Greek dictionary, which was the original language this was taught in, means to be without a way, which we're never without a way because Jesus is the way. So when you hear that phrase, no way, there's just no way, there's no way this is going to work, that's a good time to open your mouth and say, Jesus is the way. So there is a way. I may not know what it is, but He does. To be without resources. And this next part of this definition, to be honest, I had to think this one over for a while. I actually had to finally pray and just say, God, what's with that? Part of the definition of the word to doubt means to be embarrassed. And you know what I think that refers to? I think that some of the reason why we waver back and forth and we think, well, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, no, I'm not going to do this. Well, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, no, I'm not going to do this. I think that there's a part of us that's very concerned that if we're wrong and God doesn't come through, that we're going to be embarrassed when we have to face up to other people that it didn't happen in our life. And I don't think we have to be like that. To be in doubt, to be perplexed, to be at a loss. Doubt also means to stand in two ways or to have everything just all up in the air. And when you've got a relationship with God, things are not ever or always just up in the air. Now, let's talk about self-doubt. First of all, the Bible says in Ephesians 3:12, one of my favorite scriptures, that because of our faith in Jesus, we now can dare, everybody say dare. Dare. That word is used a lot. It's used in Ephesians 3:20, that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above and beyond all that we could ever dare to hope, ask, or think. And God doesn't want you to have little faith. He wants you to have big faith. And He wants you to ask Him for and believe for things that your mind cannot get in agreement with. Come on. I mean, one day I was praying many years ago, and I felt like I was supposed to pray this prayer that sounded really stupid to me. But I was going to be daring. And so I prayed, God, I pray that the time will come when you will let me help every person on the planet. Now, you know, the very next thing I heard from the devil was, who do you think you are? See, if you really step out in faith and you get daring and bold in your faith, the enemy is going to right away tell you, who do you think that you are? And then he's going to start reminding you of everything that you do wrong. Well, you know what? I don't think we've got the whole planet yet, but we're making good progress. Amen? And you know, I would rather believe for a lot and get some of it than believe for a little and get all of it. So why not go ahead and just be daring? We dare to have the boldness, the courage, and the confidence of free access. I love what the Amplified Bible says, an unreserved approach to God. A woman that was waiting on me in a store one time, her and I got to talking, and I found out she was a Christian, and I just asked her some questions. You know, I think sometimes even in the conversations we have with people and the questions we ask people, we don't even know what we're being led by the Spirit. Because the questions that I asked her led into her telling me something that I was then able to help her with that I believe may have been life-changing for her. So I was asking her about the store. I said, do you guys work on commission? She said, no, we don't work on commission. We're salaried. But she said, we do have quotas that we have to meet. And if you don't meet the quotas, then you can lose your job. And so she said, you know, when we don't have many customers, it can get really tough. And I said, well, do you pray and ask God to send you customers? Do you pray and ask God to give you favor with the people that are in the store, so even though they don't understand why, they would really prefer that you wait on them rather than somebody else? And that woman looked at me like a deer looking at headlights. I mean, and she had been a Christian for 30 some odd plus years, but she was not part of a church that taught her to be bold and aggressive in her faith. So she looked at me and she said, well, would it be okay to ask God for something like that? I said, you can ask God for anything you want. The worst thing that can happen is you won't get it. Amen? Now see, if I needed customers to meet my quota because of what I've been taught, it would never occur to me not to ask God to give me favor and send them to me. Why should I stand around and let some unbeliever have them when I'm believing God? Get them over here to me, God. Make me look good. Are you with me? But see, we're not going to do that if we look at ourselves and think because of our mistakes, we dare not expect God to do those kinds of things for us. Are you with me tonight? Are you getting anything out of this? A little bit? No, hold on. Okay. Now, I mean, listen, I know what faith can do. Because I can tell you, and I mean this sincerely, it's not like a put down. I am so not qualified to do what I'm doing. I mean, I just am not. And I had a lot of people that were very happy to tell me that. But the whole thing is whatever you're not, God is. And I love in the book of Joshua when God called Joshua to take Moses' place, which that must have been scary. He said to him, I will be with you as I was with Moses. He didn't say go be like Moses. He said, I will be with you as I was with Moses. Moses had weaknesses that God filled up. Joshua had weaknesses that God filled up. I was the least likely person for God to ask to do this, but somewhere, somehow, God gave me that gift of faith to just, I couldn't even tell you why I believed it, but I just believed it and I couldn't let it go. And so here we are today. Amen? From 25 people in my living room floor for 5 years to having the privilege of doing what I'm doing today. I want to encourage you to stop doubting yourself. Because God doesn't do great things for you because you're great. He does them because He's great. And it shows His greatness more when He does them through people that the world would think, really? I like people to look and say, well, that has to be God. Because we certainly know you. Come on. What kind of a good testimony would it be for that woman if she had all these customers and people are saying, well, how does that happen? And then she gets an opportunity to say, well, I pray. You should try it. All right, Jeremiah was a guy who, him and Moses, I probably don't have time to do both of these, but I mean, they just kept looking at themselves instead of God. Jeremiah 1:4-8, then the word of the Lord came to me saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew and approved of you as my chosen instrument. Before he ever even was in his mother's womb, God had already seen down through time. And he said, I knew you. And let me tell you, when God says he knows you, he knows you. And I'm talking like nobody else knows you. You know, in Psalms it says that every word in our tongue that we have still not yet spoken, God already knows them. Already knows. He already knows every dumb thing that I'm going to do the whole rest of my life, and he's still using me anyway. And he knows every dumb, there's no point in promising God perfection. It's not going to work. I used to lay in bed in the morning and make all my plans for holy days. And it lasted until I put my feet on the floor and another human being got up. I can be real good when there's no people around, but when the people come around, it gets tough. Come on, are you with me?
Stay tuned for a candid conversation with Joyce.
It can feel like a tangled mess of never-ending pressure. Anxiety builds as life twists and turns, and we struggle through one problem to the next. But there is an answer. There is an answer. Discover how to find rest and relief in Joyce's book, The Answer to Anxiety. God longs to give you his peace. Learn how to receive this gift, The Answer to Anxiety, available for your offer of any amount. Contact us at joycemeyer.org or call us at 1-800-709-2895.
Life is messy, but you don't have to be. You can learn to find peace in the storm, to dance with unexplainable joy no matter what is happening around you. Join us at the 2023 Love Life Women's Conference, October 19th through the 21st in San Antonio, Texas, with Joyce Meyer.
Even in the middle of your biggest mess, God's got a plan. And there's nothing you've done that he cannot redeem and work out for the good of his kingdom if you'll let him.
TD Jakes.
He didn't put all of that uniqueness in you down to your DNA for you to melt into the mush of a drowning society.
Lisa Bevere.
God has woven you to be a powerful woman of God, to be an answer in this season.
Natalie Grant and Danny Goki. Register today at joycemeyer.org.
Joyce, today we're going to have a really good and maybe slightly eye-opening conversation on all those choices and decisions that we have to make every day and making them based on wisdom rather than emotion. And, sometimes we think we're being very logical, but emotion definitely plays a role and seeps into everything that we do.
Well, I think the point is, depending on how bad you want something, that's when you have to be the most careful about your emotions. Because if you want something so bad that your emotions are involved in it, it's very easy to talk yourself into it, especially if it's something that, say, is not, it's not sinful. It's not a matter of, would this be wrong in God's eyes if I did this.
Right.
And so I think the best way for me to get my point across is to tell a story that is a little bit embarrassing, but I think it'll make the point. Now, all dog lovers will understand this. If you're not a dog lover, they'll still get the message. But I had a dog growing up, and then when my kids were little, we had a couple different dogs. And then I had a dog, she lived like 12 years. Her name was Duchess, and she was just wonderful. And then when Duchess died, I got another dog, and the trainer said he specifically picked this dog because he thought it matched my personality. Well, the problem was she was a nightmare. I mean, I hope I'm not as stubborn as that dog was.
Exactly.
Finally, a professional trainer said this dog cannot be trained.
Wow.
So I had to give her away. Well,
I don't want a dog that matches my personality.
Yeah,
I want a laid back, quiet
I want
dog.
one that's going to lay on my lap and not require too much, just love me and lay on my lap. And so I waited a while, and then I got another dog, and it was just turned out to be too much for me. And I had that one, I think, close to a year, and then I ended up giving her to somebody here at the office that was a real blessing too. And so then I wait another bunch of months, maybe even a year or two, and I still want a dog, so I get another dog. And after a while, it was like there was too much for me. It was just putting pressure on me. And so I said, I will never do this again. But 2-3 years go by, and then I start in again. I want a dog. So I had the idea that if I could get a trainer to keep this dog for several months and potty train it and train it, to be obedient, that then I could handle it. So I found somebody that said they would do it, and she kept the dog for 4 months, and not too long ago we had a picture of her on social media.
Yeah.
And him, he was a boy. I kept calling her because I've had girl dogs a lot. And it just started putting pressure on me. And this was, you couldn't have asked for a better dog. I mean, this dog was so good. Just, I only had one accident in the house the whole time we had him. He played by himself good. He was just good. But it started pressuring me because when I would get ready to come to the office to do TV or something, I'm thinking about what I'm going to teach, and in the meantime, I'm trying to gather up all the stuff I need to take the dog to the dog sitter, and you got to get the food and this and that and something else, and you got to, I was getting up real early in the morning to let him go to the bathroom, and then taking him out several times a day, and then, I go to bed pretty early. I like my quiet time in the evenings, and he wasn't necessarily wanting to go to bed that early, so that became an issue. And long story short, I ended up making the decision that it was just too much for me to have a dog, just simply because of my lifestyle, because I travel a lot. I'm here, I'm there, I come, I go, I come up here, I go somewhere else. And so when it was all over and I'm, praying about it, I mean, I got a really good lesson about how emotions can really make you override wisdom. Because I actually found in my journal from earlier this year, I had written, what are the pros and cons of me having a dog? And I had a list of like 14 reasons why I should not have a dog. And only maybe 1 or 2 things that would have been for it. And mostly it was just like, I wanted it. That was it. I just wanted it. And I wrote everything that I was having a problem with, I wrote it down, but I forgot all about that because I wanted it. And I hope somebody's listening to me today, because just because you want it, see, it's not a sin to have a dog. God, he don't care if I have a dog or if I don't have a dog, but it just wasn't wisdom for me to do it. So I think the lesson that I wanted to bring across today is that you have to really be careful when you want something in a really strong way. And I had a little check in my heart the whole time, and I know better. I mean, I know better than to do that. I'm not a real emotional person, as you know. I don't fly off the handle and do stuff just out of emotion very often. But because I had enjoyed that dog that I had for so long, so much, my daughter told me, she said, you don't want a dog, you want Duchess back. You're not going to get him. Anyway, you can apply this to any situation in your life. But the point is our emotions can really get us in trouble. It gets people in trouble financially. It sometimes...
Yeah, that's a great point. I want to spend this money because I want this, even though I don't have it.
Yeah, and even when you go out shopping, I mean, the salespeople, and bless their hearts, we need salespeople, they're wonderful, but, they're trying to make a living, and so they're,
You look great in that. You need
that looks so good on you, and it's on sale, and this is the last day it's going to be on sale, so you need to get it now, and that's when you especially need to be careful when you got to do it right now.
Yeah.
If you got to do it right now.
That's true.
I remember a situation where I was wanting to watch, and I saw a watch. I love the watch. Anything under a glass case with lights on it.
It's just perfectly laid out.
It does not look that way when you get it home. I mean, it was still pretty, but the way they look under the glass case is so much different. Well, this salesperson is pressuring me, if you 20% off, but you got to get it now. The store's going to close and blah, 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 blah. But that time I did use wisdom, and I said, well, if I want it, I'll come back, but I'm going to take a little walk here and think about it. And while I was walking, I saw a suit in the window that I liked. And I went in and I tried that on, and Dave said, oh, man, that looks good. And it did really look good on me. And so then I was going to buy that, and then I thought, nope, I'm going to think about it for a minute. And so I took another little walk. And the interesting thing was I decided I wanted the watch, I wanted the suit, but I only had money for one or the other. And I ended up deciding not to get either one because I wanted to keep my money more than I wanted either one because I didn't want to be broke.
Right.
And that would, if I would bought either one, it would have put me in a place where I wouldn't have had any, it's just like spending money, like if I want to buy a little of this or a little of that or a little something else. And so I did the right thing then, but this time I did the wrong thing. And I know, like, you have a dog, it doesn't seem to be any problem, but is it a challenge ever?
Oh, anyone with a dog can say there are benefits, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I love having our dog, but I'm not in the situation that's exactly the same that you are.
Right.
And it really does have so much to do with how much you travel and how much you have to concentrate when you're writing and preparing for teaching. So we're all so different.
It also has to do with your age.
Oh, I'm sure that's true,
and I've gotten
too.
just a little bit older. Just a smidge, just a little bit older. And I mean, just to be honest, I can't take the same amount of pressure that I could at one time. I mean, when I was your age, I could do 6 different things at one time, and I thought it was fun. But now I don't multitask as well. I need to be able to keep my mind on what I'm doing. And so it was just hard for me when I was trying to remember everything I needed to bring up to the studio to do TV and thinking about what I was going to be teaching on that day and then trying to think about what all I needed to take, for the dog and blah, blah, blah.
So let me ask you because I know how much you love dogs.
I love dogs. I love animals of any kind.
Yeah.
I'd probably be happy to have a cow.
That would be some work too.
I love to pet fur.
I'll get you a nice pillow or something. But what will you do differently when this urge comes back?
Well, I cannot. I mean, I can't. And I mean, I've told my husband, if I ever do this again, tell me no. I've told my daughter, who helps me a lot, if I ever do this again, tell me no. Now, the only way that I would ever do it again would be if I was home all the time.
Sure. If your situation changed.
If my situation changed. But, I'll be teaching and preaching as long as I've got breath. Right. And so I'm always going to be going places and doing things. And I just think that, sometimes I think the bottom line is, and then, the only reason why I'm sharing this is because I really want people that maybe are about to do what I did. It's not about a dog.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I mean, some of you can get a dog and it's going to be great and it's worth you to do that. But I mean, some women marry somebody because they're afraid they're never going to have anybody.
They want to be married.
They want to be married and they feel emotional about it, but they have a check and they're not using wisdom. Mm-hmm. Same thing with finances. People buy things that they really should wait on. They should wait and save the money. It's not something that they need to buy right then. Or things we say.
Yeah.
How often have I thought, boy, when Dave comes home, I'm going to tell him this and this and this and that and that and that and something else. And God has taught me over the years that when you need to talk to somebody about a problem, there's a timing. You need to pray first. And there's a time to talk to somebody and a time not to. You don't talk to them about a problem when they're tired. You don't talk to them about a problem the minute they come in the door from work.
Yeah.
You pray and you pick the right time. And so wisdom is doing now what you're going to be happy with later on. And so we have to think about everything that something is going to entail and not just do it because it's something that we want.
Yeah. I think you said some really key things in there. Wait.
Yeah.
Don't be stirred by urgency of emotion.
Right.
And pray and ask God for wisdom to help when
Right.
we really need it, when we're feeling weak, especially.
Well, and I think this lesson will help me in the future, and I think that it will help a lot of people listening. And like I said to some people, they may have, I mean, I know people who've got 3 dogs and 4 cats, and, you know,
Yeah, it's not that.
They're just fine with it. It's not about, you can have all the animals you want, you know, but somebody suggested I get a gerbil. I didn't want to do that. But I think the point is just because I wanted it, I think God had to give it to me because everything was perfect. I mean, I prayed for God to give me the perfect dog. And I mean, how many trainers are going to take a dog and keep it in their home? You know, and this woman, she said, I would have never done this for anybody, but I just felt like I should do it. And she didn't do it because she was a Christian and loved me and loved my teaching. God put it on her heart to do it, and she did it. She didn't know it was God, but she had a desire to do it, and she did it. And so I felt like everything was just falling into place. But still, even right down to when I took the dog, I'd have these little and I wonder if I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. And so I've just really learned that you cannot go on emotion. You have to really make sure something's wise before you do it.
That's really helpful. It's a great conversation because you're right. Whether, some people are more emotional than others, but it doesn't matter. When you really have a desire for something, some of that wisdom can fly out the window if we're not really
Well, the
really
thing
careful.
that's interesting, like you said something important, like some people are more driven by emotions. Certain personality types, like the sanguine personality, they are much more inclined toward emotion and emotional decisions. I'm a choleric type A, and I'm not. And I've made the same mistake
Sure.
3 times now. You'd think that I would have learned a little bit quicker, but see, I would let enough time go by in between that I would forget the last,
Right.
crazy thing. That's why I've told other people to hold me accountable, so you can help too. If I want a dog, say, no, Joyce, remember when.
Here's what we'll do. My Sir Winston is always ready to come over and give you some snuggles and pets. And we will keep the recording of this conversation handy, and we'll just put it on your phone. And then anytime you need to look at it.
Thank you. I said the other day, I'm going to have a party and have all the dogs over I've given away. I think that I have a second job, and it's buying dogs and giving them to other people. And so...
well, that's a blessing,
but
too.
he's got a great home now. He's with 2 more dogs and a young girl that's like 17 that just absolutely adores him. And so he's really, to be honest, he's better off where he's at than he would have been with boring old me.
And this is a great lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
So a good thing to talk about.
All right, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's program. For more information, visit joycemeyer.org. This program has been made possible by the